Hello, welcome adventurers to the first episode of the Travel Log, a podcast in which I, Stephen Hoffart, my pronouns are he, him, and
Lily Lavin, my pronouns are she, her.
will be diving into the world of Faerun from the Dungeons & Dragons tabletop role-playing game. We will go area by area, town by town, to provide a background of canonical lore as well as suggestions on what type of encounters you can run there and what type of character you could create whose background is based there. Lily is my DM. We've been playing D&D together for 2 years now. Lily, how'd you get into D&D?
Yeah, I don't know. I guess I always wanted to play D&D, but none of my friends seemed like the types that would play D&D, classic. Then I was in a band for a while. One day the drummer, I forget if our band had broken up at this point or not. I don't think so. The drummer mentioned wanting to play D&D, but not really knowing anyone that would want to. I brought up that, heck yeah, I'd be down. And then so we got a couple of other people, not the other band member though. And every Sunday we started meeting at his house and playing D&D. His grandpa lived there, and so sometimes his 80-year-old grandpa would be in the room watching muted WWE wrestling while we were playing D&D. It was quite funny.
Okay, so yeah, it's that makes sense with the bandmate thing. And the first time I started even getting D&D in my kind of orbit, I was doing a lot of theater, and I had a lot of movie and theater kids talking about doing it on their off time. It's a real performance. Yeah. Performers love that.
Yeah, exactly. And he had just bought some books, and he really wanted to DM, and he wanted some people, and I was always into, the Roland Fields of Ireland or Passrum. I was always into doing accents forever. I was always, I loved the, performing, making a fool of myself, so it was super fun.
Was it 5e that you started with?
Oh, yeah, 5e. It was really early in 5e, though. I think we started with what is it called? The starter set that came out, so we started, I think, before the PHB came out.
Right. Yeah, I think it was the Adventure Zone I was listening to, and they started back then and had special rules for if you're wearing heavy armor, you'd move slower, things like that they eventually got rid of.
Yeah.
So the world of Dungeons and Dragons is huge, dauntingly so. In order to keep ourselves on a safe path, I've tried to keep clear parameters of our journey. Using the 2015 D&D map on the official Dungeons & Dragons website, I'll link that on our Twitter and Instagram. We'll start with the most southeastern corner and make our way west before moving north and then back east until we've covered the whole map. After which, if we're still doing this, we'll go through the extended map. I'm personally excited for the Horde Lands and eventually Eberron and the Outer Plains. But for now, we're going to focus on Turmish. The Kingdom of Turmish is known throughout the Sea of Fallen Stars as the heartland of the Reach, which is the area, that kind of peninsula area down there, due to its peaceful nature and concentration on commerce over warfare. Its capital, Alaghon, serves as the most popular port of call along the southern fringes of the Inner Sea. Now, this Inner Sea and the Sea of Fallen Stars on the map above, that'll be a whole episode onto itself, but it's a massive body of water, great for pirate or seafaring adventurers if you don't want to do the Sword Coast or any of that ocean specifically. The Sea of Fallen Stars changed from 2nd edition to 4th edition, but due to the Second Sundering, the borders of the sea were reset for 5th edition. So I'm going to be using information from the 2nd edition. I will kind of chime in when 4th edition made a little change, but honestly in 5th edition there's no canonical lore about it, but there's been a couple of years now for the seas to regain its depth and for things to maybe turn back to normal.
The lore kind of gets written as they release campaign books and stuff.
Yeah, so we'll see. I think we're both in agreement that it's best to kind of take through the entirety of D&D lore. And there's a lot of stuff that just is said as it's always been this way. Yeah. So why would that always been this way changed? Okay, so I'm going to do some background history. I'm going to do this point form. Point number 1, Alaghon was the first city established in the Reach around -37 DR. DR is the Dungeons & Dragons kind of before death, after death. Alaghon was first city established in the Reach around -37 DR. Alaghon quickly evolved into a major trading center of the Inner Sea. In 132 DR, when Dempster Turmish declared himself the mayor of Alaghon. I know, Dempster is such a... we must remember the great Dempster. Everyone loves Dempster. In 132 DR, when Dempster Turmish declared himself the mayor of Alaghon, the nation of Turmish began to take shape. The merchant houses of Alaghon united under rule of Alasam Mishwick, just in time to face the attacking force from Shondath in 270 DR. In 352 DR, a great fire swept through the shipyards and granaries of Alaghon, crippling its naval capabilities and causing widespread famine. In 400 DR, Turmish found itself fighting small bands of orcs and goblins that were trying to establish territories within the Turmish borders. The nation of Turmish started to have problems with the Emerald Enclave in 552 DR. These confrontations erupted into full-scale armed conflict in 717 DR, the year of the Druid's Wrath. Dun, dun, dun. Turmish, now governed by the group of wizards known as Windlass the Wizards, heralded its army at the Enclave. They were completely destroyed.
Quick aside here, the Emerald Enclave is like a faction of druids and rangers, mostly, that their whole existence in the Forgotten Realms is to protect the kind of the sanctity, the boundary between nature and civilization, just for some context there.
Oh, don't worry. There is a whole section coming up about Emerald Enclave. They have a lot of bullshit out in Turmish. In 992 DR, a powerful military leader took control of Turmish and built it into a regional power in both naval and military strength. In 1220 DR, Warlath Sjorn Sedrath began a war against the dwarves of Iron Fang. This 20-year battle sapped the country's resources. Sjorn Sedrath sent out treasure parties to add more funds to the country's coffers. One such treasure party brought back mountains of gold to the capital city. Unfortunately, it also brought back venerable blue dragon Anaglathos, who killed Sendrath and established his own rule in Turmish. All who opposed the blue worm were killed or charmed into obedience, much more the former than the latter. It became the time of worm. All right, gonna take a breath. A lot happened. Dwarf Wars, Druid Wars, Age of Dragons. But there's some good there's some good lore here already, I'd say. What do you think, Lily?
Yeah, I mean, it's clearly the lore of a nation being built by banners of war, it seems. But I always love dragons ruling, like dragon kings. I find that so cool. All the lore around dragons is, like everything. They think they're better than everyone else, but they have like good reason. They were like the first things to live on the earth. They're giant fire-breathing monsters that can also be wizards. So I feel like dragon kings are something that in the lore isn't done enough.
Yeah, it's a cool concept, and I love the kind of parable of greed bringing this on to the nation. The fact that they just wanted more and more because of poor rulers before them. So I like this kind of like your ambition has cost you this, and brought along the dragon as kind of recompense.
I mean, it's also got a lot of war going on here, which would be cool for a campaign setting. I really like big background events going on while you're playing that you don't necessarily have anything to do with. So it becomes like the players get a choice whether they want to take place in this big background event, and Turmish is pretty cool for that. Like while you're going adventuring, it seems like there's a lot of wars that could be going on in the background.
Yeah, a lot of strife. Also, like, good history there if you wanted to, like, say they were looking for a lost treasure that was lost in the fight against the dwarves or something. The Windlasses had an ancient artifact. There's a lot of old history that you can pull out for them to find.
There's also, with the part of the world we're in, something that people often don't realize. I don't know if we're going to get into this in your notes or whatever, and if we do, we can touch back on it later. But so much of the lore of this part of the world talks about how they consider people in the Sword Coast, where all the campaign books take place and all the lore is from. Everyone considers them like barbarians and, weak people that aren't smart. They consider them ruffian wildland barbarians, and it's because, and this is actually the reason why so many books are written in the Sword Coast as opposed to places like Turmish, is that the Sword Coast is supposed to be what's the word for it, savage frontier. So it's not as advanced or cosmopolitan as the rest of the world. That's why a lot of the time in the campaign books, every city you go to has like 20 people and a mayor, because they're not as well established. They're mostly just little city states. Whereas places like Turmish and the countries around the Sea of Falling Stars, these are like established nations, which I think is why a lot of the lore here is about, war with conflicts with other humanoid creatures rather than just war with the environment. Like so much of the Sword Coast lore is just, they fought bands of monsters, whereas this is more like, the actual history of a nation, which, it's breath of fresh air than most, campaign lore we get.
I like it, though. I find it very cool. Yeah. The next kind of major historical event. Turmish's rebellion was led by a young paladin named Corwin Freas, who fought Anaglathos to death in the city of Alaghon. And people wanted Corwin to become their ruler, but the paladin only ruled for 1 year before turning over control of the country to the Assembly of Stars. He then quietly stepped into oblivion, living quiet and sheltered life of a hero until his assassination in 1254, the year of the Silent Steel. Now, I'm just going to say real quick, saying he stepped into oblivion to describe him just retiring is an insane way to put it.
Yeah, right?
You don't talk about some dude who retired from your, I don't know, office or whatever into, oh yeah, he stepped into oblivion.
It's a very epic way to describe going home.
Yeah, right.
I just went home. Also, yeah. I gotta say, Anaglathos, the name, I don't know, Alaghon, ruled by Anaglathos, it sounds like they named their city and had this coming.
Yeah, right? They should have seen it. But yeah, I like it. The hero saved the people. This kind of famous paladin. Pretty much it sounds like an adventure happened here.
Oh, yeah.
Someone's campaign happened here before, and this was the end of it. I kind of like that feeling. I like that feeling that this is
I mean, it would also be a great campaign start.
Yeah. Yeah. Now we're getting into 4th edition, we're getting into the muck right now. In 1385, the spell plague caused the waters of the Sea of Fallen Stars to recede, and the nation of Turmish was sent into an economic disaster as the merchant strongholds on the coast were now trapped inland. In 1485, the Second Sundering caused torrential downpours to return to the Sea of Falling Stars to its former glory. However, the constant rain ruined the crops of the Turmish and threatened to send the nation into famine. In 1486, however, the Chosen of Lathander, Steed Whitehorn, allied with the Emerald Enclave and performed 2 intricate magical rituals to save Turmish. The first rite made Great Rain's healing effect work faster and repair the damage inflicted on Turmish by the spell plague. The ritual re-established the natural order in Turmish and restored the Emerald Enclave's magic to its level of potency before the catastrophic event. The second magical rite ended the Turmishian famine by causing food to instantly grow through the nation. As you see here, we had some stuff happen in 4th edition that was immediately backtracked on.
Oh, that's so in between each edition there's always a cataclysmic event.
Yeah.
That kind of marks the change. So there's bound to be one in the lore after 5th edition. But everyone just freaking hated 4th edition. I know some people on the internet who swear by it still, but everyone hated 4th edition. Yeah, they were okay, Second Sundering, yeah, cool. Okay, let's just none of that happened.
Yeah, exactly. Either things were fixed by people in game, or some god wrote it back, and some people who died came back to life, and other things happened, and don't worry about it. That is the point form history of Turmish. We're now going to get more into what the nation's about, what the people are like. So, the people of Turmish are tall, dark skin toned, generally well educated, especially in business and agriculture. The custom in Turmish is that the male merchants of Turmish have square, neatly trimmed beards. This custom has given rise to the phrase square as a Turmishian beard. It's also noted later in history of Turmish that there's a custom to have different colored dots on the head to denote the ability to read, write, and perform magic respectively. That's interesting. It'd be a cool way to show your character was from Turmish,
Yeah, I like that. That's pretty cool. Yeah. The dots are kind of interesting. It feels like that would be, you don't go into it here, and I doubt the lore goes into it, but that could be a way to denote, I don't know, class structure, maybe the people who can't read or write and everyone can look at them and see it. Maybe they get, not treated the best.
Yeah, you could definitely talk in class
exactly.
Here.
The people with the magic dot run around acting like they own the place,
Yeah, exactly.
Could you imagine if you couldn't read and everywhere you went, people could just see that fact written on your forehead?
Oh yeah, no,
it's so embarrassing.
It's ripe for abuse. Turmish is also a mix of elves, halflings, gnomes, and dwarves. Little is said about the society of these races. Warriors and mercenaries of Turmish pride themselves on their intricately crafted armor. From the most prominent noble to the least known militiaman, fighters of Turmish keep their armor in exquisite condition and frequently adorn them with embellishments. Such embellishments are usually expensive additions, such as gold inlay or gems. To the people of Turmish, the armor is a status symbol. I like this a lot. So I like that. I like the kind of Turmish intricate armor. This kind of this like peacocking that they're doing.
Yeah, it'd be kind of cool too for like a character concept, right? Like you're a paladin or a fighter, or any armor-clad class, and you're like really into your armor, so you're constantly polishing it. Going out of your way to find someone who can magically clean it.
Yeah, exactly. And then like if you ever come across a valuable gem or some gold, instead of it just being money to keep in your pocket, you would be like, no, I need to like add this to my armor. People need to know how like great I
exactly.
am.
I like that a lot.
It wouldn't give you any beneficial. It wouldn't be like more DC because you have a ruby on your shoulder, but it'd look nice.
Yeah, no, I think that'd be cool though. I always like character concepts where you have these little idiosyncrasies, so it's just like because we all have that in real life, right? And I feel like a lot of D&D characters don't really have that, and so it's nice to have, I don't know, like essentially just something to spend your gold on that's just kind of like a ribbon,
right?
And it's like in your character, right? Like it's like, okay, this new plate armor is 1,000 gold. I already have plate armor, but this plate armor is nicer.
This one's got a little curl at the bottom. Look at that.
Yeah, look at that. Look at these jewels in here. Another thing that I don't know exactly how they would do this. They used to have something called Dungeon Magazine, where they would release monthly magazines that just had random lore tidbits. And they still have it on the Wizards of the Coast website or the D&D website or whatever it is, but it's not great. It's mostly just like, here's a couple little side quests you could put in. Here's these people just released an owlbear plushie. Oh, look, Icewind Dale came out. Let's talk about that. Whereas it used to be like magazines of canonical lore and stuff, which I think they should really come back to, because the thing is if you look here, 1485, right? The Second Sundering. So the books, like the campaign books you buy, like if you buy Waterdeep Dragon Heist, it's taking place like 15 years after that.
Yeah.
With the canonical lore is not in the year 1500 yet. So the thing is like, yeah, okay, sure, you could say I'm a human, so I was 10 when that happened, but like the Second Sundering, new continents appeared. The whole world was a huge upheaval, and you're playing a 400-year-old elf. You would remember this.
Yeah. You remember the whole spell plague and the fixing of it.
Yeah, exactly. So like especially the Second Sundering though, because it's so recently, and then the campaign books kind of pretend like it didn't happen. And like, so I wish they released like, I don't know, compendiums for you that are specifically made to flesh out characters. Because it might be really cool to say you played, I don't know, like a halfling from, I forget what the island is, but there's an island that left at one point and then came back during the Second Sundering. So maybe you're like a halfling who just has like ridiculous PTSD because you got banished to a different planet for a while. Like it left to Abir and then came back to Toril. And maybe you're just like messed up by that, You're like, oh, I was on Abir for a while, now I'm on Toril. That was ridiculous, and that's why I'm adventuring. I realized anything can happen in the world, so why not stop working at my parents' bar and go make this stuff happen? Right?
Well, yeah, and I think you could really, we'll talk about this later, but yeah, I think you could make a really interesting character from Turmish who, say, like, just your great-grandfather, or even your father, depending on how old you are, was a great merchant before the spell plague, lost everything, and really went through economic downturn, and now you are in this new rebuilt and revitalized Turmish, and you're like, well... Yeah. Navy's not, I don't think they could go away in a day. I just saw the Navy disappear in my lifetimes. I want something different,
I mean, if you're a gnome, a dwarf, or an elf, it could just be you that lost everything.
Yeah, exactly. This next part, really interesting. I want to hear your opinions about this immediately after. Officially, Turmish is ruled by the Assembly of Stars, a group of freely elected men and women chosen from the everyday population of the region. Each serves a term for 3 years before another election brings a fresh group of Turmishians into political life. This keeps professional politicians to a bare minimum, since the decision to run for office is not a personal choice to make, but rather decisions of one's peers. That is not to say that the decision to elect someone to public office cannot be political. The job of an assembly person is not easy. Long hours and extensive travel through the Reach is normal, but by getting a successful merchant elected to the assembly, a competitor vastly increases their chances to expand their own wealth. You've never seen so many compliments bestowed upon so many people. It seems to be some sort of reverse popularity contest, with one person's charismatic nature serving to get another elected to a post they did not want.
Yeah, I like that a lot because it kind of like, I don't know, IRL, you get elected to office to expand your shit. Like, I'm a capitalist, I want to make more money, I run for office, you know? Like, Jeff Bezos just stepped down from Amazon, you bet he's going to run for office soon to expand your power. Yet this, like, reverses that? Like, becoming a politician is, like, negative points towards your wealth, you know?
Yeah, exactly. It's like getting court duty. You're like, everyone's got to do it. And like it's only for 3 years, so don't worry about it. But like it's not a cushion.
It'd be pretty cool to play like a bard or sorcerer or any charisma class. You could play any class like this, but of course it lends itself to the charisma class really well. You did that, like you got someone else elected to kind of screw them over, and then you were like, ha ha ha, I'm going to reap the benefits. And whether you were paid to do it, like maybe someone else paid you to do it so that, you know, one merchant paid you to be charismatic and get another merchant elected so that they don't seem involved, but now you seem involved. And you get paid a bunch of money, but the second the guy comes out of office, he's trying to track down and kill you. And that's why you become an adventurer. You're like on the run because maybe you were convinced you did the right, like maybe you thought, you know, Edmund really needed to get elected. You thought he was a great guy, so you elected him to office. And now he just hates you and you can't go back to Turmish or Edmund's going to kill you because you screwed up his fish farming business.
Well, that's the thing too that they don't really touch on. But if you just got Edmund elected and it was very obviously you, and then now has some political sway, he can get you sent to jail.
Yeah, that's exactly what I'm saying. So, like, you get someone elected who didn't want to be, and now you're on the run because he hates you.
Yeah, no, I think that's a great background. And this is why I brought you in for shit like that, for stuff like that. I don't know if I should swear. Who knows? The individual cities of Turmish are free to govern themselves as they see fit, so as long as they pay their share of taxes to Alaghon. They are also expected to follow in the dictates of the assembly, but for the most part, they are given plenty of space. The assembly concentrates on national interests and allows cities to handle their own problems. A visitor in Turmish is expected to have a grasp of local customs and traditions. This expectation is especially true for merchants and businessmen trying to ply their wares in the kingdom. It's a long-standing custom for visitors in another's home to bring an exotic dish to share. These dishes are called greeting gifts, and they're used to express gratitude for the host's hospitality. Greeting gifts can range anywhere from vintage nymphet wine to a skull full of snails, called a skull cap treat in Turmish.
Wicked.
Yeah, cool. I don't know why. What's a skull of what? Of course, the value of the gift should reflect the stature of the guest. Peasants are hardly expected to bring expensive wine. Burying a sacrifice of one's gold and gems has also been a long-standing tradition in Turmish. By seeding the earth with your wealth, it is believed that your bounty will be returned to you tenfold. By and large,
making money trees.
By and large, this tradition is a personal ritual performed at a time that is important to the individual. It might be during a wedding anniversary, a birthday, the anniversary of an owner's first day of business, or even upon the birth of a loved one. Of course, this custom has led to some treasure seeking by unscrupulous individuals. However, the act of digging up a gift of the earth is heavily frowned upon in Turmish, to say the least. Officially, it is a crime punishable by 1 or more years of hard labor. Unofficially, the act of digging up an offering is considered thievery, and many thieves have died at the hands of angry merchants. Regional superstition holds that stolen treasure bodes ill fortune for the coming year. So, how many parties do you think were thrown to hard labor or killed for this?
I mean, okay, if you visited my island and you took the money from my hard-planted money tree, you're getting years of hard labor, and that's just in Animal Crossing. But, yeah, no, that's pretty interesting. I mean, in the other campaign, the one I don't DM, you bet my character, Killian, the money-hungry bard, you bet they'd be digging up this treasure. Like... they're not just burying it on the street. I think like maybe in front of their business or their home. So you have to be like pretty inconspicuous about it. Yeah, I mean, I imagine they're burying it in like specific spots. You know, like where weddings take place and stuff. I don't know. I think that could be an interesting. Right. You know, some guy buries something super important. Ooh. You know, that like to him is nothing, but he buried something super important. Like he didn't realize that this was, you know, a gem of Therisdun, or he didn't realize that this was, you know, the tears of Lathander. He thought it was some trinket, you know. He didn't realize that this was one part of the heart of an aboleth. He just thought it was a rock, and he buried it with his stuff. Right now, you, for some reason or other, it's part of the MacGuffin for your campaign, have to go find it and dig it up. And while doing that, you have to avoid suspicion.
Yeah. Because like, if maybe you've talked to the guy or the person who's done this, and it's like, okay, yeah, I buried it here, whatever. Like, stop bothering me. But if any locals see you, if any guards see you, they're like, no, what the hell are you doing?
Or he's long dead.
Right, yeah.
And you need to like find out through context clues and through his living family members and through like history where he buried it.
Oh, that's cool. Mystery solving.
You go on a whole big treasure hunt to find it. And then but on top of that, you can't just, it throws another wrench in the idea of hunting for treasure, because you can't just, usually when you're hunting for treasure, you just walk up to people and go, have you heard of, the Abbey of Saint Patricia? Whereas now, you can't just walk up to people and go, hey, do you know where Belethor buried his wedding gift? Because people are going to be like, why the fuck are you asking about that? If you touch that, you're going to go to jail. And the only reason you'd be asking about it is to take it.
Yeah, no, exactly. It's like, oh, I'm just, I want to bury mine near his, I guess. Sorry. I don't know.
So I don't know. I think that it'd be a really cool treasure hunt that has a lot of just, I don't know, ingrained troubles that are like hard to work around.
No, that's
and
great.
It writes it for you right there.
Most Turmishans set aside one day out of every 9 to chase the sun. This day is reserved for pursuing personal interests, such as learning the harp, practicing spells, spending time with the family, or other pursuits. When a Turmishian says they will get to something on the 9th day, it typically means when they have time. I think we should have a 4-hour work week. I'm always too tired after 5 days of work. I get my 2 days off, but like you need a day for hobbies, You need a day for hobbies.
Yeah, I mean it's similar to the original idea of the Sabbath or whatever, where you're not supposed to do anything. I love that they said spending time with your family as a personal interest. Like, what are you doing the rest of the week? Just no family. It's not the 9th day. I can't talk to you.
No. Yeah, I do like it as like a hobby day, because like, but assume that like they have a day off to like rest and go to their religious service and stuff. But like, yeah, chase the sun. It's every 9th. It's 1 out of every 9 to chase the sun. It's not every 9th day. It's not a particular day. You got to pick one.
Yeah, it seems like it's personal for each person. I like that it's called Chase the Sun. I like that a lot.
Yeah, it's got a really cool.
It's like, hey Taylor, can you make me some fine pants for this wedding? And the tailor's like, oh no, I'm chasing the sun today. I'm not able to do anything today. I'm chasing the sun. And you're like, damn it, but you're the only tailor I know. And he goes,
yeah, I'd love that. Just to be like, I don't know, the mayor's there, and you're like, mayor, like something terrible's happening. He's like, oh, chasing the sun today. Oh yeah.
Oh, I can't help today, chasing the sun.
Chasing the sun.
Oh, what's that you say? Hobgoblins have raided one of our near camps, and you're the only people that can stop it? Oh, you're going to have to talk to me about it tomorrow. Today I'm learning the harp.
I have to finish this pottery class. I can't do anything right now.
I'm listening to a podcast today.
Guest house are the most popular of Turmish customs. I don't know who decided this, but someone did. These guest houses are the small cabins built alongside trails and roads to provide shelter for travelers. They are free for all to use. The only requirement of using the house is that you replenish what you use. Local militia patrols check on the guest houses regularly and use the cab horses. 1 second. Use the cab horses. It just says that so matter-of-factly. What's a cab horse?
It's just,
It's
cab horse.
The cab horse.
Is that not clear? It's cut and dry. Cab
Is that
horse.
a euphemism for like a toilet? I'm going to look up real quick.
Yeah.
Sorry, y'all. I'm just going to look up real quick what a cab horse... It's just like, apparently they just will have...
Guest horses?
Horses there on the guest houses too, if you need to use them. But most are simply small structures capable of providing shelter for up to 6 travelers. I think this is great. I think this is a great encounter.
Oh, yeah. I mean, okay, also, first of all, guest houses are the most popular of Turmish customs. It's popular because the player characters.
Yeah, I think player characters are stoked about
this.
This
isn't popular for... Why would Turmish people care about this? They have a house.
Yeah, Turmish people are like, I love my guest house.
I love this random shack on the side of the road in between my house and Gary's. Yeah, no, this is fantastic. You go into a guest house, there's a dead kid or a dead wife, and you're like, oh, there's a dead wife. What are we going to do?
Is this a Christopher Nolan film?
Or you go into a guest house, and there's the guards are dead. And then later, the guard comes back. You know, they say guards do regular patrols. Maybe there's a dead guard in there, and then later you find the same guard knocks on the door and is like, hey, is everything up to code here? And you're like, what the fuck? You're dead over there, you know? And then bam, doppelganger attack.
Right. Yeah, you could also have a great, like, say you're looking for someone. You have a bounty on someone, or you're looking for someone to kill them or take them in, and you meet them at a guest house with some other people there, and you have to like play it
right,
cool,
or there's always one guest house in front of you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, I like this. It's cool.
Also, just if you want to be basic about it, free in. You really don't have to pay for it. Here's the thing, though. You could also make a nice little thing. Free in, don't think about it. Put up those rules to replenish. And if your party doesn't, have it like bite them in the butt later. Yeah,
comes back to haunt you.
There are two major Turmishian festivals, the Feast of the Moon and the Reign of Misrule. During these times, businesses and most government offices close. All of Turmish celebrates. So first, the Feast of the Moon. During the high summer, one night after the midsummer, the people of Turmish gather for a night of drinking, dancing, and debauched revelry. This is the Feast of the Moon, also known as the Festival of Lovers. While many who participate in the feast are married, this is the time of year that many choose to consummate new marriages. Needless to say, the week leading up to the Feast of the Moon is rife with marriages. Some even choose to marry on the night. Now, this is written in the 80s, a bit normative as fuck. It's the Festival of Lovers. Go get some sex on. I don't think people need to marry right before. I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, okay, no, but this one, perfect quest right there. Revelrous debauchery.
Okay, wait. Before you give me this, let me finish it. Lovers are required to seek each other out in places that are strange to them, agreeing to a specific meeting place. Lovers take different routes to their rendezvous. Some are more popular rendezvous spots are Lake of Drifting Stars, Everstar Vale, Starfall Stream Pool, and the Bare Bones Hill. In the years since the time of troubles, militia patrols have been increased due to the prevalence of the cult of Malar, who hunt down lovers as the opportunity presents themselves. Indeed, it is not uncommon for lovers to carry weapons for their own protection. Okay, there you go.
Let's go get some sex on, but bring your armor and sword.
Exactly. Like wear the lacy underwear, but also the like dagger that you can put to your ankle,
Yeah, okay, right away. Classic thing you could do here. A bunch of so it's a night of debauched revelry, right? Who in lore loves debauched revelry? Who is literally the incarnate beings of revelry and ridiculous drunk tricks? Satyrs. So what you do is the festival has been infiltrated by a bunch of satyrs that are they have a lot of animosity towards this place for some reason, towards Alaghon or Turmish as a whole, and so they infiltrate the thing, and all the revelry is because they can do charm with their music, with their pan flutes and stuff. They can charm people, and so the whole festival has been infiltrated by these satyrs with a chip on their shoulder, and at the climax of the festival, during the height of their charm magic, something's gonna happen. I don't know what, but like you'd have to flesh that out. But that would definitely, if I was gonna write this festival in, that's definitely what I would do. They're charmed to maybe husbands and wives start cheating on each other during the festival, and everyone goes ridiculous, and it's all just one big, because of the satyr's magic, it's all one big offering and sacrifice or something, one big prayer the people don't even know they're part of, that'll summon, the great elder tree right in the middle of the city. And you gotta stop this. But of course, this is such an important festival to everyone. They're like, there's no way this is true. What are you talking about? You're insane. There's no way satyrs have infiltrated this festival.
Yeah, I also think you can do like a really funny quest or like fun quest of like being hired by an important merchant, someone who's worried that they're going to be attacked at this.
Yeah, bodyguard.
Yeah, and they're like, guard me, but like don't cockblock me. Like don't get in the way.
Guard me, but don't watch.
Yeah, but don't watch. Like, like be nearby, but like not too nearby. And so having this like really like awkward thing of like having to watch out for like killers of them, but also this person's going out looking to get laid. So like they're going up and going in a weird place or doing something.
Yeah, I think that'd be pretty cool too.
Yeah. Okay, so that one's good. The Feast of the Moon, love it. Some good stuff there. Okay, so the next one, also, I think, quite good. The Reign of Misrule. 10 days after Hiverstide, the Reign of Misrule begins. This festival allows Turmish natives to break the oaths of their guild or faith so long as they don't cause death or destruction. Non-natives of the Reach are never excused for their actions during the reign. During the Reign of Misrule, it is not uncommon to see a rude paladin involved in knock-on, drag-out ballroom brawls, monks of various faiths talking and laughing freely with others, breaking a vow of silence, or other shocking sights. The Reign of Misrule normally lasts only a day, but the memories it provides are everlasting. It is a crime in Turmish to discuss anyone's actions during the reign. And the custom is so ingrained in the culture that even children understand the rules of the Reign of Misrule.
What is this, like that movie where there's no laws for one night?
The Purge.
Yeah, what is this, the Turmish Purge?
It's like the Purge, but it's not like you can break laws. It's that you break an oath.
Yeah, same difference.
Same difference.
It's their version.
It's not saying you can go around killing people, but it's like, yeah, if you took a vow of celibacy, not today.
Tonight.
Not tonight. If you're like a vegan, you're like Emerald Enclave vegan. It's like, that's steak though.
You're like like a monk, and you're like, ooh, the reign of misfortune is coming. Ooh, and I took a vow of being removed from society. I'm a hermit. Ooh, time to go play the stock market this night. Time to go invest in some trade.
Exactly. No, like, yeah, I think it's fun. Or even like if you have your player there, though it does say something about outsiders not being a part of it. You can forget that. And get your paladin to be like, that oath thing, you don't have to care today. You don't have to protect the innocent tonight.
Yeah, I mean, or someone gives you misinformation and tells you that.
Right.
And so you do that. And then at the next day, everyone's like, hey, screw you, man. And you're like, wait, that guy told me I was allowed to do this. And they're like, you're not, you're an outsider. And then like there's a whole quest of like you get kind of screwed over by that, you know? Add some tension in the city regarding around your character because you were foiled into doing this.
Yeah, I think like side quest potential here, but and also probably something that could be really fun is, say, if you've just come into Turmish and this is like your second day there or your first day there, and you're like, why are people acting like this? Like, what a weird place. There's paladins. Like, think of that. Think of like you come into town, first night in an inn, paladins are having this like drunken brawl, and you're like, this place is messed up. What the heck?
Yeah,
and
this
then
place
the next
is ridiculous.
Yeah, and the next day you come up to a guy and you're like, hey, dude, you knocked me out of the inn the other night, and he's a paladin. He's like, how dare you say that?
Like, no, I didn't. We're not allowed to talk about that.
Yeah, no, I didn't.
You could also be someone hires you because you're an outsider specifically to get revenge on someone. You know, guy's wife cheated on him during the Reign of Misfortune, and he's got a chip on his shoulder about it, so he hires you to go kill the guy she did infidelity with, but like no one can know.
Right, yeah, because
he can't tell anyone about it.
Technically, marriage is a no.
Exactly. Or it doesn't have to be marriage. It can be anything. You know, someone is upset about something someone did, but they can't do anything about it because they're not even allowed to talk about what happened.
Right, yeah.
So they hire you to deal with it because you're an outsider.
Yeah, that's great. I love that. So that's kind of Turmish customs and Turmish backstory. We're now going to go focus on the capital of Alaghon. The capital of Turmish is an ancient city that has seen its share of trials and tribulations over the years, ranging from terrible fires to occupation by the blue dragon Alagoths during the reign of the Worm. Throughout all of this, Alaghon survived as a trade center known as the Throne of Turmish. There's been numerous stonemasons involved in the creation of stone buildings, vaults, houses, and drains that comprise Alaghon. This construction has created 1,000 hiding places. This fact is especially true where the works of human stonemasons cover up the older workings of a dwarven craftsman. The secret passages and cubby holes created by overlapping workmanships are popular places for children to play. So should we get your partner in on this? Because they like child hijinks in D&D.
They're busy in the other room.
Cubby holes, hidden passageways, like that's some good shit.
Oh yeah, I mean, just anyone living in a wall is fantastic fodder for any.
Oh, someone living in the wall. So you're saying like, okay, they've built over this, and there's still something happening in those walls. Like there's actually.
Well, like maybe these cubby holes, you know, can connect secret passages, cubby holes. You know, maybe people like literally live in these passages.
That's cool.
Spend their life out of the shadows, you know, and it's just like I don't know, you encounter an old woman and she's like, you know, well, I leave milk out every night and a little bit of berries for the little spirits because I've angered them recently because they keep eating my bread. And it turns out that it's just, you know, some halflings or, you know, like Underdark dwarves or some Underdark gnomes that are like living in the passageways. Even just some rambunctious children who are like orphans living in the passageways stealing people's bread.
Actually really good. Yeah, and I like it too, the idea of like maybe they don't know about it exists. Like you kind of poked into it, but like you're like, oh, that door leads to my pantry, but you look to the side, you get kind of deeper and you're like, wait, no, there's a gap here. Like there's a human-sized gap over here.
Yeah, exactly.
Sometimes the children run into monsters, never again to run through the city streets of Alaghon. When a child is missing, adventuring companies are sent to investigate. However, more often than not, they play happily for years, leaving a trail of used toys and adventuring supplies behind. Sometimes children have come across long-forgotten vaults that most likely once belonged to the ancient rulers of Turmish. While it is rare for a child to come out of the maze of tunnels with a gold coin hundreds of years old, is not unheard of. During the time of Anaglos, the blue dragon allowed a lich queen from Unthur to reside below the palace. When Anaglos died during the revolution, the lich queen continued to live quietly below the city. So, okay, lich queen in the basement, that's not going to come back to bite you.
I love that too. Yeah, but see, this is what I'm talking about. It says right here, children run into monsters. Like if children are using this, what else is using this, right? That's what I love about this, is it's like, I don't know, quest children have been going missing, you got to go in there, or doppelgangers, I know I mentioned them before, but have started taking the guise of children, you know, replacing them as they go into these little towers, cubby holes and secret passages, or maybe one of them stumbles upon the Lich Queen, and I don't know, you got to be careful when dealing with children, because my go-to here, I would think, you know, the Lich Queen has started making them her servants, and now there's a moral dilemma of there's, you know, Lich Queen thralls trying to kill you, but they're kids. And when you do that, you always have to give a way for you to not kill the children. Otherwise, it's a little iffy. You know, like the point is that, I don't know, you don't want to write a campaign where you're killing a bunch of kids. But what if you write a campaign where you have to free the kids while they're trying to kill you? Because like a lich, it would not be past a lich to be like, oh, I'll make these children who discovered me by mistake my thralls. No one will suspect or attack the children, you know?
Yeah, no, or you could do like a nice little horror campaign of like Children of the Corn, where all the kids are kind of acting a bit weird. Maybe not murderous, but they're just acting a bit weird. And you find out that they've been playing in the tunnels. So I'm just going to send you real quick in Discord here, the map of Alaghon. This is from the book I've been reading from. This is the only canonical map of Alaghon. It is very sparse.
Bunch of rectangles. It's not even the whole city.
No. It's very sparse. Here is, I'm just doing some clicking. Here is what's written about this. Alaghon is divided up into city districts. The military district is north of the city and includes the naval shipyards and ports reserved for their ships. To the south lies the merchant district. To the east, the assembly or government district, and houses continue out from Alaghon's farther west. So you kind of see it here. You kind of see it in their
yeah. I mean,
their map.
They have the districts like set aside a bit, right?
Yeah. I think it seems here's what I'll say. Less canonical information, more for you to do, for you to play with.
Plus, I don't know, in the older editions, yeah, city maps are sparse.
Yeah, like I'll post this too on the Twitter. But yeah, I feel like you got a basic idea from this map in the description. Like, okay, the military. If I want to put something to do with the military, I'll make them go up north, and then all the merchants and like the marketplaces are going to be all south.
Yeah, I mean, it's also kind of, if you look at the map, at least these districts are all kind of centered around the water. Like that gives you a good idea that like the important buildings are near the water, right?
Yeah, exactly. And yeah, just kind of as you move away out west, it's just more, outside industries, probably if they have any sort of like, kind of lower class, probably a bit more to get away from the water.
I mean, that's probably what I would do. That's what I would infer from this, seeing as all their important buildings are by the water. The further away you go, the less important it becomes, I guess.
Also, too, like I'd say, as it talks about building on top of old things. I don't see topography here, but if there was dwarven structures back here, if there used to be a dwarven settlement, I'd assume they would be a bit more higher altitude and away from the water. You know how things usually go down towards the water. So maybe the old Dwarvish district is actually a bit out away from the water.
Yeah, maybe, possibly. Dwarves also like to go underground too, so.
Yeah, exactly. So it'd probably behoove them to be a bit away from it. Like elsewhere in Turmish, mercenary companies perform many of the jobs normally associated with the local militia. They are hired out to perform odd scouting jobs and patrols along the more wild areas of Turmish. Occasionally, they run into powerful monsters they can't overcome, but more often than not, they chase off whatever they do come across. A strong elf presence exists in Alaghon, as many of them have decided, for one reason or another, not to follow the rest on the retreat. There is not a segregated population of elves within the city, however, for they live comfortably among the humans. So, yeah, there you have it. There's kind of a basic outline of Alaghon. It's a capital city. It's got a good metropolitan feel to it, and like a basic history for you to go off.
Yeah, I think it's pretty cool. It's an interesting little place.
Yeah, I will say this. So what I've just read is all from 2nd edition. All 4th edition says about Alaghon is that when the waters receded, because it used to be a naval headquarters, a naval trade hub, it lost that ability when the waters receded. So for about 100 years or so, Alaghon was not what it is in this. It really suffered. It had a huge economic downturn, and a lot of people moved away to go to the new water's edge, and then quickly came back once the water started to flood again and probably destroyed that new city. Turmish, I would say you in 5th edition, as it is now, I'd say it would probably be a real gold rush town, a real place of like people had left and now are kind of rushing back and hoping it gets back to its former glory.
Yeah, I mean, I think, well, for sure. Also, it's been, 15 years-ish since the water came back, right? It came back during the Second Sundering. So I think it'd be really cool to play it, like, just past the gold rush. Like, you're late to the gold rush. So, like, it's still there a little bit, but when you get there, now it's, like, competing factions, essentially, you know? Like, the first guy there owns a bunch of Turmish, but then there's a bunch of other people, and so it's kind of in political turmoil, and then on top of that, there's still people coming in for this kind of, like you put it, gold rush. That's kind of how I would deal with it, you know? Because, of course, the people who got there first would get the most, right?
Yeah, well, there's probably a lot of ships full cloth like that I don't know how fast the spell plague hit. I think it was like within a day. So there's ships that were just completely beached, that as the water came back, you'd be like, oh, like these are the people who own these just left them. So if you claim them quickly, they're yours.
Like, I feel like there'd be a lot of land disputes and stuff at this point, 15 years on. Also, I mean, I think, that aside, best part about this is that there's a buried city.
Yeah. True.
Underwater city. That's cool.
That's cool. Yeah.
Find yourself an artificer, make yourself an underwater suit, and go to fight some, krakens.
Yeah, no, that's very cool. So, with all this in mind, like, what kind of character would you, if you were to make a character from Alaghon, like it's their background, they're from Alaghon, what would you do from this information?
I mean, you could go a couple ways with this. Either you're someone who left Turmish, Alaghon, because of the spell plague, and then the Second Sundering happens, and you haven't heard that Turmish got better or anything, so you've got like a chip on your shoulder, you were forced to leave home, you lost everything, and you turned to a life of adventuring because of that. I think that'd be kind of cool, and you could play it as if oh, I used to be a merchant lord, do you know who you're talking to? And then everyone's like, well, yeah, I know who I'm talking to, you're freaking nobody, you don't even have 2 silver to rub together, and it's like, yes, but I used to, trying to recover your glory through adventuring. I think that'd be an interesting one. I think it seems they really like their appearance, so like a character who's gone out adventuring, maybe you didn't like the merchant lifestyle of Alaghon, so you went out, you left, cast that aside to go out and make a name for yourself adventuring. Maybe you were really inspired by that paladin, but your like vanity is like your flaw, so it's just like, yeah, okay, let's go fight the monster in the sewer. But first, we need to go buy a spell scroll of water walk, because there's no way I am getting my perfectly polished plate mail boots dirty with sewer mud. I think that would be fantastic. Like, it's a hindrance to the party how much you care about your appearance. And especially gold if you're not a spellcaster.
No, that's very cool. Yeah, I think they'd be good. Like either a very like kind of posh-ish character, like who's thinking they want more adventure but isn't ready. Because Alaghon sounds like there's adventure there if you look for it, but like it's not like a place if you're looking for.
I mean, it's like a
honor or
merchant
glory,
city, right?
It's
also
city,
like
exactly.
though the thing is to you that's normal though. So like you wouldn't be like if you think that's normal, like of course we need to get boots of water walk because we're not going to get our boots dirty. When the rest of the party goes, we don't care about that. You're going to be like, you foreigners are ridiculous. Like it's not to you, it's everyone else who's weird.
You could also have a really fun thing if you were from Alaghon or Turmish in general to be like, oh, there's a house on the road. Let's go stay there. And everyone's like, are you crazy? No.
Yeah, the little quirks added in. I love that. In the campaign where I'm a player, I constantly bring up stuff from Marsember.
Right.
Rolling Fields of Ireland, I'm always talking about the nice perfumes from Marsember. That reminds me from back home when we'd ride around on the skiffles, little skiffs through the water. Or how, like, oh, I'm afraid of horses, I'm better on a boat. I love being able to throw just those little idiosyncrasies from where you're from into your character that are foreign to everyone else but normal to you.
You could also, too, really run a cool undead warlock who was a kid growing up at Alaghon, met that Lich Queen, and got a little...
Yeah, I was just about to say that. Or the undead warlock would be great. Or the new warlock that was just released in the Unearthed Arcana. I forget what it's called. Because there's the one in the Sword Coast, and then they released a new one that's kind of an updated version, because the one in the Sword Coast Adventures Guide kind of sucks. Or you could grab the Haunted One background from Strahd, which is essentially the I have PTSD background. And so you were a kid running through those places and you saw something like an Eldritch Terror or the Lich. You saw the Lich cast Power Word Kill and it scarred you for life and you ran away from home.
Right, yeah. Yeah, you just had to get out of there. Like, how could you sleep knowing that
that's underneath
connected to your house is that?
Yeah, and so now you left home and maybe you don't know this yet, but your ultimate goal right now is to get away. But ultimately you grow into the idea that your ultimate life goal is to return home and smite this Lich.
You could also take it a different, like less terrifying and more inspiring way. And like you used to always climb through those tunnels as a kid, and now you just, you have this archaeologist, you have this dungeon crawling ingrained in you as a kid.
Yeah, you've got this need for adventure.
Yeah.
You could also just, if you really wanted to, you could just grab the guild artisan background and just be someone who's traveling around trying to sell their wares from Turmish.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Also, yeah, like what if you were to do like throw up some side quests in Turmish if you're just kind of passing through, not Turmish, side quests in Alaghon, passing through, what would you throw out there?
Okay, so the easiest one that we've been talking about this whole time is, little Cindy Waterstomp has gone missing and you've got to find her in the secret passageways. Of course.
Yeah. Kids, always good. Like that will pull at any lawful good or even.
Yeah, it doesn't even have to be a kid. It could be someone's long lost. It could be someone's love. On the eve of them getting married or something, goes missing into the tunnels. And then I would add another thing in there that if I were to run people here, because it's so focused on customs, I would definitely make it so everyone in the city is difficult. Like until you learn the Turmish customs, no one's gonna help you.
Right.
Like, if you don't show, like, okay, so you need to get into these secret passageways in the walls. Okay, well, the last place, Sally Riverstomp was seen was in her friend, Amalia's house. Well, Amalia's dad isn't going to let you in because you didn't come with a gift, like they say in Turmish. And now, not only is he, even if you come back with a gift, he's difficult because he doesn't like you because you disrespected him that first time. So, like, it adds this layer of, like, you kind of have to learn the customs while you're there, or else your quest is going to be more difficult. Next one that comes to mind instantly is, guy died holding important thing. Now he's in the washed-up city under the river, under the sea.
Okay, yep. That's a great one. Yeah, totally. It gives you some underwater adventure. It gives you some, like, having to track down where this might have been.
Yeah, it adds a bunch of stuff. I think the best part about this information, it's all from 2E, right? And so it's good to pick and choose stuff. And, like, I import stuff from 2nd edition all the time, because why not? We rewrite our own canon as we play. But the thing I like about learning information like this is that, I don't know, like, I've played games where they're super fun and everything, but a lot of the time worlds can feel not real, if you know what I mean, not fleshed out.
Oh yeah, no,
and so
I really fucked that up with my JRPG campaign. I really put a lot of effort into certain things and not others, and I felt this kind of flimsiness when it came to the cities.
I mean, it can be super overwhelming because like cities are so populous and breathing and living and have their own customs. Even next door neighbor cities are so different. It's like really daunting to run stuff in a big city, especially like a metropolitan city. So like I think it's 100% understandable. I think it's a very difficult thing to do. But what's good about this kind of information is you can use this to add little... So like in our campaign, both of them, whenever you guys go to a city, whenever y'all go to a city, I always make a list of, depending how long you're going to stay there, 10 to 20 to even sometimes like when you were in Waterdeep, like 30 or 40, just like background stuff that's going on. And then every day I roll and see which one comes up, if any. There's always, if I've got 20, or say I've got 15, then like 1 to 15 is a thing and 16 to 20 is nothing's going on that day. And they're just little things, so like your next door neighbor gets kicked out because he forgot to shave his beard properly and his dad thinks that that's disrespectful to the family line, not having a square beard. It's just some random thing to make the city feel living. And I think this kind of information is really good for that because you have so much to draw on here, someone's...
Mm-hmm. Yeah, there's some great backstory and like great little customs around it. There's even some festivals I haven't touched on in Turmish. I was thinking of saving it for a bit of a thinner episode. But yeah, a lot of stuff.
Yeah, so I think that's the best part of lore like this, is that once you get an idea for how the city is run, it's really easy for you to write your own thing. So it's like you run into someone burying some stuff and you're like, oh, what are you doing? And the guy's like, oh, I'm burying this stuff. And then you learn the custom and then you walk away and the encounter means nothing. Like the encounter doesn't do anything, but it makes you feel like the city is real and it makes you grow attached to the city. And then when it comes time to leave the city, you're kind of like, oh, but this place was so cool. That guy buried some stuff. We met this one guy who is the only guy who's allowed to bring his sheep flock through the city because of... he brought the best guest house gift to the king or whatever. I don't know. Just little things like that to dust into the city to make it feel real will really make players like attached. And you can once you get the idea of the customs, right, it's so much easier to build off that. Same with like lore stuff. Like maybe there's a guy going through the city doing vigilante justice and the guard have put a bounty on his head for whoever can catch him. And it turns out he thinks he's the reincarnation of that paladin. And he's going around doing vigilante justice.
Or you could put in, like, say you're a Dragonborn coming into the town and people are kind of like, ugh, about you because you're blue Dragonborn, like, even though none of them were alive when it happened, has this feeling of, like,
yeah, exactly,
distaste towards dragons.
Yeah, Turmish seems like you'd really have to, because this is really have to lean into the urban encounters, because the thing is what I was talking about earlier, how so many adventures are set in the Sword Coast. And people always talk about like why and stuff, and it's because what are you supposed to run in Turmish besides an urban encounter?
Oh, don't worry. No, don't worry. We're getting to that. We're getting to that because Turmish is a whole area. It's
I just mean, okay, so in the area around Alaghon, the thing is that I understand, like, I'm not saying that there's no way to run an encounter. I just mean that a lot of the other countries, a lot of the lore involves, like, regular patrols. Like, it says right here that the armed guard of Alaghon regularly patrols for monsters, and there's rarely a threat big enough for them to not overtake. Right? So, like, it would be going against the lore of Turmish if you were walking around Alaghon and you got ambushed by Goblin. And so you can do that as a DM, do whatever you want. I would still do that. It's just you are going against the lore there.
It'd be a bit more of like like an urban encounter, and also maybe a bit more of a like moral encounter because you'd be coming up against people. It does say up there though that the mercenary companies perform the jobs for the militia.
Yeah, you could be that.
Exactly, yeah. Or you could be that also, like, if a mercenary company doesn't like your face, maybe they're not all up on the up and up, but they're doing this guard work. You can also have that issue.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, there's always ways to work around it, and also I love urban encounters, where in the campaign we play together that I DM, as you know, we've currently had, like, 6 sessions so far, I think, of urban D&D, and it's fun, it's great, there's always so much random stuff to do. It's just that the reason so much is in the Sword Coast is that there's just freaking monsters everywhere. There's no centralized government to deal with them, and so, like, that's why I feel like it's easier to write an encounter in the Sword Coast, because the encounter can just be you leave your house and get attacked by orcs. There's no government for you to go to help you here. You live in the green fields. There's no government anywhere near. Oops, it's nighttime. You got attacked. That's not to say that you shouldn't run it in Turmish, because like it adds a different context and layer, I think, to a D&D adventure, which I think would be really cool. Like it adds more thought, adds more angles that you have to look at, you know, rather than just you run outside and fight orcs, which I think is really interesting. And I would love to see these countries kind of fleshed out in campaign settings, because that'd be so cool. And I think that's something everyone wants, is campaigns that aren't just go deal with monsters in the wilderness, which you can still do here. Like you said, you get hired by mercenaries or something.
Well, adventurers, that's it for our journey today. Hope you learned some good lore for your stories in Alaghon, Turmish, and the surrounding area. On our page, D&D Travel Log, I will be asking for adventures you and your past campaigns have gone to in the area we covered. This week will be Alaghon, so please tweet us at D&D Travel Log or at Alaghon there, hashtag Alaghon there. So please tweet us at D&D Travel Log or hashtag Alaghon there. And I'll select some stories to tell at the top of the next episode.
Oh, hello. Have you been to Alaghon? Oh, no, I haven't been to Alaghon yet, but Alaghon there next week.
Oh, see, hey.
Alaghon there next week.
It's like Argo Fuck Yourself, which, you know, that's the reason that movie won the Oscar. On the next episode, we'll be continuing in Nonthal and Illiwood, as well as a couple of locations such as the Centaur Bridge. Thank you, Lily, for joining me today.
Oh, of course.
Also, thank you for the amazing cover art. And
that I have not made yet.
Shh, they don't need to know that. And thank you to the band Blood and Dust for the use of their song Around the Fire as our intro and outro music. You can check them out on Bandcamp and SoundCloud, and link in the description below. All right, have a great long rest.